All right, we've been looking at Chapter 5. Quick review on string handling. String handling is important because it introduces us to the same concepts which we will use for array handling. We will look at array handling then and two-dimensional arrays. And then after arrays, we will go to abstract data types such as queues and lists. So here's some sample code here. And I never really liked looking at projected sample code when I was a student, whenever he showed it on the screen. But that's why I make you type it in. But let's go ahead and look at it anyways. What we see here is something missing. Or maybe we're supposed to fill that in ourselves. But this is supposed to be a lottery program where they have to guess a number between 1 and 2 billion. So they use integer.max value in order to determine the largest number. And then they tell the user, please enter a value between 1 and max value. So insert $1 and enter your number, or Q to quit. Then we read in the number with next line. And since it's being read in as a string, we'll have to eventually convert it to a number. I see. We're leaving some things blank here for us to fill in. I don't really want to have us all type this in, but we could do a little bit of it. So if input.equals, give me a hint, print try winning number. So if they can type that in, they'll find out what the answer is. Or if they type in Q, excuse me, if they don't type in Q, then we need to compare. We need to see if the value that they typed in equals the winning number. So of the code that's left out, this one needs to generate a random value right here. So why don't we go ahead and pop open NetBeans and at least play with that. We may wind up recreating the whole program. We'll see. I think we could do better, though, if we told them whether the number was too large or too small. And I also think that we could not make them guess within 2 billion. Maybe a smaller number. So why don't we declare we're going to tell them to enter a number between 100 and 1. But we need to pick our random number. And for that, rather than use math.random, let's use the random class. So random r is equal to new random. We will have to go and add the import for it. I'm going to take advantage of NetBeans' convenience to do that. And so our secret number is going to be initialized with r dot next int. Going up to the max. But actually, it goes up to 1 minus the max. This is an upper bounds, but it's not inclusive. So handling that properly, where we could change the minimum to like 100 and the maximum to 200 and all that's a little bit beyond what I want to do. So all I'm going to do is add the minimum to it. So secret plus equals minimum. That way, because this generates a value between 0 and max minus 1, tell you what, if we get rid of this word minimum, nah, we're going to leave it there. Alrighty. We're just going to accept the fact that that code doesn't really work right. And why do I say that? If I set this equal to 50, then it would actually generate a value between 50 and 149, which is not max. And I don't feel like correcting that. We could, but nah. Anyways, we're going to leave that 1.
Okay, so we have a secret number. Let's make sure this code's working first before we do anything else. Let's just print out the secret number. $27, $93, $29. Looks good to me. So now let's make a string to hold their input in. S is a good string, good a string name as anything. I'm just going to set it equal to an empty string. And then we're going to have our while loop. While S is not equal to the letter Q, we're going to keep looping. We know we're going to need a scanner pretty soon, so underneath that string, I'm going to declare scanner. Scanner SC is equal to new scanner system.in. All right, let's tell them what we're doing. System.out.println, guessing game. Then we will say system.out.printf, please enter a number. I'm going to put this on the next line. You don't need to, so I'm breaking the quote like that, just to make it fit on the screen. Between %d and %d. And let's pass in the min and the max. And I forgot to add the import for the scanner, so I'm going to do that now. Now let's get our input. S is equal to xsc.nextLine. We didn't even tell them that they get enter Q to quit. Would have been nice to do so. So why not right here? For Q to quit. So that's the change I made. Now we've got our data. Let's see if they typed in a Q. If S dot equals, let's use ignore case so that they could even type in. Well, we didn't use lowercase down there, so let's just make it. In fact, I was quite an idiot up here. What's wrong with that code?
It's Boolean.
Yeah, we're doing a comparison on two strings, and what are you supposed to do when you do a comparison? You're supposed to use dot equals. So we have to modify our while statement for this to work. While S dot equals Q is equal to false. Or we could use, an exclamation mark in front of it, but that makes it pretty clear. So we had to just change this line. I apologize for getting that wrong. We're pretty much going to do the same thing here. Because if they haven't typed a Q, we're going to assume it's a number. If S dot equals, and you see that we could choose equals ignore case there to let them type in lowercase, is equal to true, and again, you don't have to put that equals to true. Let's print a nice little message out like goodbye. Else, we will assume that we have valid data. We're not letting them type in the secret help word. That'll give us the answer. So how do we translate that string into a number so that we can compare it to our secret?
can't use a cast. You can't use a cast to go from a string to an int. What do you want to use?
Could you use a double?
I think you're on the right path. What you want to do is use integer.parseInt, just like you'd use double.parseDouble to convert it to a double.
So int guess is equal to integer.parseInt, the string that they've given us. Now we're to see if that matches the answer. If secret is equal to the guess, then great, they won. This is going in a really bad direction here. I've made some mistake in creating the logic for this. Yay, you win. And here's where I'm throwing in a hack because I didn't write my logic correctly. I'm just going to put a break statement there to exit our while loop. This is bad. What we should do is go and modify our while loop. But I'm going to stick with it for now. Else we're going to tell them they got it wrong. System.out.println. Nope. And let's tell them if they were too low or too high. And let's do it in the most complicated fashion we can possibly imagine. I'm kidding, but we're going to do this. String hint is equal to is guess less, or is guess greater than the secret? Or no, let's reverse that. Is the secret less than the guess? Question mark. If so, then our hint is, well, if the secret is actually lower than our guess, we need to say try lower, colon, try higher. You'll see a lot of code out there that takes advantage of this. And I actually don't use it very often. This is called the conditional operator, the question mark. And the way it works is that the thing before the question mark, I'm going to add a parentheses to it just to make it clearer. This is evaluated, and if it's true, then this value is copied into there. But if this is false, then this value is copied into there. It's just like writing an if-else. We could have worded this like this. If secret less than guess, hint equals try lower, else hint equals try higher. Why write it like this? Well, it's one line of code rather than four. That's really the only advantage. I'm basically just showing it to you because you will see it out in the wilds. Okay. I could think of a couple more improvements to this. What's really bugging me is this break. It's like if you're going to use break, you may as well go whole hog and use it everywhere. Because right now we have two ways out of it. We have this way, and then we have this way. So just make your while statement say while true. What we're doing is it's just going to be an infinite loop. Loop until quit or correct guess. That means that after that goodbye down there, we also need to add a break. That will bail out on the while loop. After a while, I'll go back and look at the PowerPoint and see how the author did it. Okay, it's possible this is going to work, and I'm sorry that we had to jump up and down a little bit. For those who are doing this at home, here's where we started. Main all the way down to guessing game. You can pause your video and type that in. Then here's our while loop. While true, tell them to enter a number. Get that number. Well, get their input anyways. If what they typed in is a Q, then we say bye-bye. Else we parse that number. We compare it to our guess. If the guess is correct, we say yay, you win. Else, we say nope. We get a hint. I did forget something here. What did I forget? I create a string that has the hint, but
To let them type in.
I don't print the hint. System.out.println. I'm going to remove the "this is bad" comment from the break. I don't feel too bad about using breaks if it's a while true loop, because that's actually the only way you could get out. Alrighty, I hope it works. Guessing game. Please enter a number between 1 and 150. Nope. Try higher. 75. Try higher. Uh-oh. 99. Really? Okay. Let's run it again. 50. Nope. Try lower. 25. Try higher. Okay. I'm actually believing this works. 37. 48. You can see why we didn't pick 2 billion as our upper. Alrighty. So it took several guesses to get there. What you're doing when you do that divide by half method, is similar to a binary search of an array. You're just dividing the problem into half. You know that you have 100 different choices, so you take a stab at guessing in the middle. Then you find out, am I right, or am I going to have to go lower or higher? It's the same thing when you're searching an array with a binary search. If the value wasn't right, you decide which half of the array you get to ignore, and then you try to search again. Y'all think of any other features to add? I can only think of one useful one that might be entertaining. How about we just tell them how many guesses it took?
Okay.
How would you modify this code to do that?
Has something like a count. Like every time it goes, it adds 1 to itself, and at the end you print it.
Yeah, we're going to need a counter. So let's go declare a counter above our while loop. Int counter is equal to 0. And every time we get any input, maybe even right here underneath the while loop, counter plus plus. Then we'll need to go down to our you win and actually print that value out as well. So yay, you win. Let's add another one. System.out.println guesses required, colon space plus counter. Divide that in half, 75. All right, 5 guesses. The other cool thing would be to make it loop. They want to play it again because this game is so amazingly fun. We could taunt them. Like if it took 5 guesses, we could say, try it in 4. To do that, we just need to enclose all of this stuff in a bigger loop. I don't really feel like doing that. Let's not bother, but you get the idea. You could put a larger while loop around it, ask them if they want to repeat, and if they don't, then you exit that loop. Let's go back and see how his code did it. Want to win $1 million? Oh, he's using a do loop, which is different from our while loop. It's a post-test loop rather than a pre-test loop. We get the input. We check to see if it's quit. And our while says while input not equals quit. Or not input equals quit. And if it doesn't, okay. This kind of raises a point, which is I quite often code my loops like this, where I do a while true and a break. And the reason for that is to do this kind of thing where, I wish these were on successive pages, where you allow them to bail out. You either, to do it this way, you have the comparison in two different places. The first thing you do is right here. You check to see if it doesn't equal Q. And then you have the same comparison down here. I don't much like that. I'd rather just do the comparison in one place and have a break. If your mind prefers to do it this way, where you loop until something equals Q, that's okay. Alrighty, just to be obnoxious, let's go ahead and modify our code to use the maximum as integer.max. Integer.max value. And then now let's play. Really, I mean, it'd probably take, 2,000 guesses, so I'm going to lose my patience for this pretty quick. 1 billion. $500 million. All right. There's a way we could calculate how many guesses it would take. Let's see if we can Google that answer up. How many iterations binary search? What is the maximum number of comparisons that a binary search function will make when searching for a value in a 1,000-element array? 10, if the array is sorted, because it's log 10 base 2. Well, that doesn't help. I want to figure out the inverse log of it. Okay, so the log base 2 of 100 is, all right, that's not what I want to see. I'm going to type in 2 billion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If we do it exactly, we should be able to get the guess correct in 31 tries. And if you go on and take a four-year classes in programming, you'll learn how to analyze algorithms and decide that. I don't really care if you memorize that in order to figure out how many guesses it would take or how many times a binary search would need to iterate before it hit it at maximum. That's the base 2 logarithm of the number of elements. All right, we talked about the string class, substring. I didn't mention this, but it's right there. If you only give one value to substring, it just starts at 0. So if you do this, string S is equal to Darth Vader, and then you do string T is equal to S dot substring 5, it goes and it gets 0 to 4. Index values 0 to 4. That's element 0. That's element 1, 2, 3, and 4. So at this point it would equal Darth. But if you specify 2 values, T is equal to S dot substring 3, and we're going to go out to 8. How many characters long is that going to be? What's the quick way of figuring it out?
3 minus the 8.
Yeah, so it's going to be 5 characters long starting at index element 3. So that's element 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to start at the T and it's going to be 5 long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or we could count it out. You know, this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So we're starting there and we're going to go up to but not include 8. So 4, 5, 6, 7. Same answer. I just like subtracting the 2 in my head, so I like knowing the length as soon as I look at it. Does this thing give you answers if you go, give you errors if you go past the end of the string? I consider that likely. Up here at the very top of main, let's do that. String S is equal to Darth Vader. This is kind of stupid to put in our guessing game, but I don't feel like starting a new one. Oh, we already had the string S here. So let's call this string name. And then string T is equal to name.substring starting at character 10 and going out to character 30. Now that's way past the end. And then let's print that out. Yep, it blows up. So, if you're going to use substring, it's not a bad idea to make sure it's not past the end, past the length. Or you try and catch the exception with a try-catch block. Not a bad way to handle it. The only time that would be the case, well, no, I won't say that. It's just something to be concerned about. Substring can kill your program. 2 ways to handle it are 1, to make sure that these values are not outside of bounds. You want to make sure that this number is not less than 0, and you want to make sure that this number is not greater than n minus 1, where n is equal to the length of it. So index of. What did index of do? We used it on Monday.
It finds the characters are from 0 to wherever, and whenever it finds whatever the character, it tells you the
Exactly, like you could look for a period in a string and it would tell you the index value of that period. It works on either characters or strings. Like if you wanted to find out where the word Vader appeared in that, we could do that.
Would we be able to work on the integer or not?
No, since this is an array of characters, we could only search for strings.
Okay.
I think you can specify a starting place though, which would require an integer. All right, so I'm going to take that out, but let's do another substring. No, wait, we're not doing substring now. Int p for position, or POS, is equal to name.index of, and we want to find where Vader begins. We can count that out manually. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be at position 6. But let's print it out. System.out.println POS. 6. Okay. So it can either be a character or it can be a string. Later on, when you're searching for arrays, if you had an array of ints, you'd want a function that you would send it an int. The second number here, the second parameter, is a from index. What that does is it tells you where to start searching. Why is that? Suppose you had this string. Let's go to our code, and we have something that looks like this. Name is equal to Grand Moff Darken. And we want to split that into 3 strings. Or, at the very least, we want to locate the 2 periods. Let's print out the position of the 2 periods. So POS is equal to name.index of, and we want to find a space. Great. Now, assuming that we found that, we have a number. If we didn't find it, it's a -1. How do we find the next one? If we look for another space, it's just going to start from the beginning.
POS plus 1?
Yeah. The other thing you could do, which would not be correct, is you could use last index of, which starts the search from the end, but that's assuming we only have 2. So, our second position, int POS2, or our second space, is equal to name.index of, and we want to find a space, but we want to start searching at position +1. And let's print those both out. System.out.println POS plus a space plus POS2. I hope y'all know how to kill your last application, because each time we run this, it's going to launch your game. Well, I guess you could always type Q. But down here, you can click the little close box to cancel the process. Okay, so it found a space at index values 5 and 10. Let's make sure that's correct. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So an interesting thing that I should make y'all figure out, is how to extract that, and then how to extract that. Let's take a simple shot at that. Let's do a string first name is equal to the name.substring going out to the position of the space. Not substring, substring. And then the last name, well, we have a middle name. So let's use that. String m name for middle name is equal to name.substring starting at, do we want to start at position? I think we ought to start at 1 past the position so that we skip the space. So it ought to be POS plus 1, comma, and then going out to POS 2. And now let's print out those values. F name on one line and M name on the next. Not sure I understand what I'm seeing here.
Do we need to put an end boundary on first name?
Supposedly, if you leave off the first parameter, it starts at 0, but let's be specific about that.
That works.
Huh. I think did I lie? If you only have one parameter, if you only have one parameter, it's not that it starts at 0 and goes out to that position, it's that it starts at that position and goes out to the end. So that'll make it really easy to get the last name. So let's go ahead and get the last name as well. Let's do string L name is equal to name.substring starting at position 2 plus 1 to skip the space. System.out.println L name. Yeah, somebody who's never watched Star Wars is going to wonder why I chose that ridiculous name. Alrighty. Alright, that did it. I don't know if the differentiation between POS and POS2 is clear enough. We could have called it first space and second space or something like that. It's easy enough to rename them, so I'd like to do that in retrospect. I'm going to come up here to POS, highlight it, do refactor, rename, and call it first space. Then I'll do the second one to POS2. I'm going to highlight POS2, right-click, refactor, rename, call it second space. So you could use this to chop up an entire sentence, extracting everything word by word by word. We wouldn't just need 2 indicators though, because what if the sentence had 20 spaces? What kind of thought process would we need in order to chop up an unknown number of words by the space? It's going to be repeating over and over, so that makes us think we're going to need
Probably a loop.
a loop. Let's do that. Did we already have a string called S? No, I just called it name.
We have a string S in the bottom.
It's down here at the
Yeah.
bottom. Okay, well anyways, let's do this. String sentence. You know what, we're going to need our scanner.
We have scanner.
We have a scanner way down here at the bottom. It's stupid to insert this stuff right in the middle of our guessing game, so we should move the scanner definition up at the top. Let's do that. Matter of fact, let's grab that string. Nah, just a scanner. Grab the scanner, cut it, paste it up here at the top so that we can use it. Now down here we're going to ask them to enter a sentence. So system.out.println, please enter a sentence. Now what I suggest we do is that since index of can support a starting position, that we set the starting position equal to 0 first. So, int space position. I don't think we used that. Is equal to, oh wait, we haven't read the sentence in, have we? Okay. So S is equal to scanner.next line. Next line rather than just .next because we want to allow them to type an entire sentence. And I don't have a string S. I should have moved that up as well. So string SENT for sentence. Now let's declare our space position. Space POS is equal to 0. While sc dot index of a space starting at the space position is not equal to -1, I've done something wrong. What's wrong? Oh, it's not SC. We're trying to get the sentence. Okay. Then let's find the position of the upcoming space. I'm going to call it space 2. Is equal to index of that space starting at the original position. And if that's greater than 0, if space pos 2 is not equal to -1, let's extract that value. Let's print it out. System.out.println sent.substring, starting at our first space. I'm thinking we ought to set space pause equal to -1 or something like this. This is not going to quite work, but we'll deal with it. Maybe we can accommodate that. Going out to space pause 2. Then we want to set space pause equal to space pause 2. Something like that. I have a feeling that that's not quite right. I think it ought to be space pause is equal to space pause 2 plus 1, because we want to start searching past the space, or else we'll just find the same one over and over. Please enter a sentence. Now is the time to enter a sentence. I think it almost worked. It left off the last word.
That's what I was about to ask, because, yeah, mine did that.
So, if space position 2 equals -1, how did we get the last name? What did we do to get the last name of Grand Moff Tarkin? We use substring with a single parameter to go out to the end of the string. We ought to be able to do the same thing here. Else system.out.println sent.substring space pause. It still skipped it.
It's the guessing game.
Well, I don't know how much time I want to spend on fixing this. Why don't we go into debug mode? I'm going to put a breakpoint right here. So I come over here and I click on my screen. It's the number 49. That sets a breakpoint there. So I'm going to kill any currently running versions of it, and then I'm going to choose debug file. It'll run it down to that point. Now I have to go down here and find my output window so I can type in a sentence. Please enter a sentence. I love Java. So, it found a space at position 1, which is true because the string is I love Java, which you can confirm by clicking on the Variables tab. Their sentence, I love Java. So there's a space at position 1, that's true. In which case, what we do here is correct. We print out that substring and we add 1 to space pause, or we set space pause equal to space pause 2 plus 1. Now we look again. You know what we ought to do is just move this final print statement outside of the loop. That's what I think it is going to require. Why don't we just take that on faith, stop the debugging, so I just click the red square, take this else out entirely, move that print line to underneath the while loop. And the reason I say that is just because we don't find any more spaces, that would kick us out of the while loop before we could even print the final element. I love trash because it's trash. Let's go to grab song. Okay. It's interesting it printed a blank here, probably because I entered 2 spaces in a row. We could work on that, but I don't see any need to do that. I don't know if the way that I talked through this process of writing this loop helped at all or not. Does this kind of make sense though? We're using index of to look for a marker. If we find that marker, great, we do something with it, and then we iterate again, one past where we found it. Is that good? Even if there are other ways of doing this, of course. Java has a built-in class for tokenizing input, which would make it easier than searching for it ourselves. The reason you might want to use something more sophisticated than this is, what if you were trying to break not only on spaces? What if you were breaking on all commas or tabs or spaces? Then our code would look considerably more complicated to handle that.
Oh, you guys did move up to the person. Hey, my brother had a flat tire, but I still wanted to bring your coffee.
Oh, good grief. Thank you so much.
I was like, I'm literally gonna show up in the last 5 minutes. I'm like,
We are actually successfully recording the video this time, so you can watch the video and get the whole thing.
which one?
So along with index of, there's a last index of.
Where was I Monday?
So why don't we
Over here.
come up with an assignment based on the last 2 lectures? 1, ask the user for a diameter and calculate the surface area of a sphere of that diameter. I don't think I've demonstrated that formula. You can look up that formula. If you can't find it, text me and I'll give it to you. Look up the formula. Hint, if you Google surface of a sphere formula, it spits it out big as life. Modify the program so that if the user enters a negative value, the absolute value is taken. Now, are you going to even need an if statement to handle that one? No, you could just take the absolute value right off the bat. So, and then 3, ask the user for a sentence. Count the number of commas in the sentence. That's all. You don't have to extract them with substring or anything. That's good enough. And then 4, show the first 4 letters of the sentence and the last 4 letters of the sentence. Don't crash if the sentence is less than 4 characters long. All right, so that'll be our assignment. That make sense? Okay.